Therefore, I clarify that in any agreement in the foreseeable future, with an accord or without an accord, the State of Israel must have security control over the entire territory west of the Jordan River. That's a necessary condition. It clashes with the principle of sovereignty. I tell this truth to our American friends, and I also stop the attempt to impose a reality on us that would harm Israel's security. A prime minister in Israel should be able to say no even to our best friends, say no when necessary, and say yes when possible.
Let's get more analysis on Netanyahu's latest remarks. Joining me now is Antony Loewenstein. He's a Middle East affairs analyst and the author of the Palestine Laboratory. He joins me now live from Australia. Anthony, great to see you. Now, just 2 days ago, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was addressing Davos, where he said that the United States wants to see a two-state solution after the war ends. And clearly that call by the U.S. Secretary of State has been outrightly rejected by Benjamin Netanyahu. So there are two things going on here, in my view, and I would love your thoughts on this. A, the U.S. and Israel, they're saying one thing publicly, but when they talk behind closed doors, they discuss something entirely different. Or Tel Aviv does not care what Washington thinks about this whole conflict anymore. What do you think?
I think that we have seen this script literally for decades, Jaffa. You know, one of the things when you talk and write and investigate on Israel-Palestine is that Israeli leaders have never accepted a two-state solution. Even those decades ago, including Rabin, who was killed by an Israeli citizen, an extremist, never truly believed in an independent Palestinian state. Fast forward decades, no one can be shocked by what Netanyahu is saying. He's been saying it for years. And it's important to note, this is not just him. In public opinion polls within Israel, before October 7 and certainly since, there is not even close to a majority support for a two-state solution. It doesn't exist at all. So Netanyahu, in some ways, although it's rejectionist and frankly outrageous that he doesn't believe in Palestinian self-determination, is really reflecting Israeli public opinion. And if, or more likely when, he falls from government in 6 months, 1 year, whenever that may be, his likely replacements are no different on this key question. There has never truly been an Israeli leader that accepts any real Palestinian equal rights. It has not ever happened. So without outside pressure from the US and others, this will not change, tragically.
So what do you make of the US's latest stance here? Why do you think the US has been unable to push Israel at this point?
Unable or unwilling, because that's an important difference. There's a choice here, and the US has had a choice for years. Now, the only US president that has seriously put any pressure on Israel in the last 40 or so years is a Republican, George H.W. Bush, that was conditioning aid money on a reduction of settlements. This is decades ago. Since then, there has been no American president, Democrat or Republican, that has done anything to seriously curtail Israeli settlements or excessive colonization. So what that means practically is that the vast parts of the world, public opinion and also, both public opinion but also other nations' leaders, do not truly believe in a two-state solution. And many of us who write about this say the two-state solution is the zombie solution. It keeps being resuscitated every couple of months. No one seriously believes it's going to happen. And not unimportantly, on the Palestinian side, the Palestinian Authority, for example, that nominally controls the West Bank, but not really because Israel has ultimate control, they don't believe in equal rights of Palestinians because they've been willing for decades to give up any kind of belief in their own self-determination. And many Palestinians within Palestine, Gaza and the West Bank, and this is based on public opinion polls long before October 7, also have long given up on any kind of belief of a separate state for themselves. They want self-determination. I'm not minimizing that for a second. I'm talking about the idea that Israel, they believe correctly, will ever give up real control without outside pressure. So the US is playing a pantomime. It's like kabuki theater that happens every few months. Of course, the problem for the US and frankly much of the Arab world, who again in the last few days have talked about releasing a new peace plan, two-state solution, Palestinian state, who are they actually talking to here? And they're not talking to the Israeli people. or the Israeli leadership because they ignore it. And there's no pressure or ramifications for doing so. So ultimately, I would argue, I'm not alone in saying this, that at some point, a major global leader will say the two-state solution is dead. It's over. So there's only two choices then. There's a one-state solution, which is an apartheid state, which is essentially what's happening now, or a state for equal rights, where everyone lives equally, Jew, Muslim, Palestinian, whatever you may be. That is the only two options. And Israel at the moment has chosen an apartheid state.
Fascinating insights into the topic. Antony Loewenstein, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World.